People ask if I'm lonely, but at 54, I've never felt so connected to myself. They assume I'm hiding from the world, but in actual fact, I'm just rejecting the social script that is expected of women of my age. Solo living is nothing about loneliness and everything about freedom. Success for me is a life where I do not have to negotiate. For years, I thought my unhappiness in a relationship was a failure. But in actual fact, I now realise it was the burden of having to carry the mental load of two people. I'm not anti-people, I'm pro-peace. And I finally stopped trading my time and standards for what is the status quo in society. So probably from my 40s, I've lived solo, I've lived alone, and I'm loving it, and I'm thriving. And I'm here to tell you why. Unfortunately, the cost for women is incredibly high in a partnership, and women are still carrying an enormous load, and usually it's far greater than anyone else in the household. But I know what I want, and I know that I want peace in the household, and that for me means that I'm living alone. It's just my values. It's how I would like to live. So it's not about who was in a relationship with me. It's just about the fact that it's just more successful solo. My life was not better by being in a relationship or cohabitating with someone else. It was much worse than being single. The moment for me when it really clicked, it wasn't a big fight. It was just the quiet realization that, for example, if I went shopping, I shopped for everyone for the full week for groceries. Whereas if he went shopping, he came home with a box of cereal and some bananas. It was the constant pre-planning that I was doing where the male in the household was just not feeling any requirement to do any of it. So I stopped trying to force compatibility and started to appreciate the silence that comes from total autonomy. I gave up on those relationships. I walked away. And I'm so glad that I did. Another realization was when I was sick, and if I was ever sick, the lack of care and attention that my partner had given me was astounding. It made me feel so alone within a relationship that I swore I didn't need to put up with that type of treatment. And I realised, especially through my 30s and 40s, I was trying to live a script of how my life was supposed to be, but it just wasn't working. And it was someone else's script. It wasn't mine. I didn't feel the need, and I wasn't getting any benefit out of it. So I chose not to force that compatibility. I just gave up. I walked away, and I'm happier for it. I didn't run away from the world of being in relationships. It wasn't really a conscious thought. I just ran towards my own time, space, and finances because I was already managing all of that myself. So there was no difference for me. I could just do it in a much more simpler way. I built a life by my own standards without having to ask for permission from someone else. And was it scary at times? Absolutely. But it's so worth it, and I'm glad I've done so. The constant negotiation with partners when you don't feel in alignment, I find exhausting. And it's just something that was never for me. I was not going to earn the most, do the most, and be in charge of everything and then have to forego the end decision to someone else. I just wasn't going to do it. So I ran towards my standards, not away from anyone else's. Freedom and financial freedom for me now was at 53. I'm 54 now and about to live overseas. And all of that is possible because I've lived alone for the last 15 years. So honestly, have I missed having someone in the house and sharing the burden with me? Yeah, absolutely. Would I love that? Sure. But that's not how it was. And I was not going to pay the price of having someone in the house all the time just for the occasional help to lift a heavy item or hang a picture where I needed another set of hands. It's just not worth it. I can pay someone for that. Did I feel the temptation to just do what everyone else was doing? Absolutely. But when I'm sitting in my house and it's peaceful and tidy and there's no one else to have to answer to, I knew I was making the right decision. My nervous system completely relaxed, and I live in a whole different way than what I have previously with partners. None of this turning yourself into a pretzel. I don't do any of that anymore. If I don't feel like cooking, I do not. So I'm choosing my own sovereignty over convenience of having someone else in the house. But now I have the peace of zero compromise, and I love it. If you're considering living alone over 50 or even younger, like I did in your 40s, remember that the risk isn't solitude. It's a risk of living a life that you didn't choose and that you didn't create. So I didn't settle, and I will most likely live alone and by myself for the rest of my life, and I'm very happy to do so. What about you? Leave some comments. I'd love to hear them. Bye.